Look at that. That is glorious. Wow. That is an amazing preparation for the sun setting. Oh, yes. Very excited for summer. Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael, and today we're discussing about why buying a car right now, or a house, or pretty much anything getting approved for a credit card, all of your interest rates are rising. Well, why is that? Well, it's because the good old federal government has raised rates for the 10th time. Sorry, gotta use one hand for that. Recently, this past week, actually. Another increase, which has put it in very interesting territory. We're breaking records here. Well, I mean, it's been done before. There was insane interest rates. Even believe this, back in the 80s, interest rates were up at 18%. So being close to, 4 or 5%. Well, we're above 5, and most of your interest rates for example, since I'm in car sales, for vehicles are going to be much higher than they were, at least a couple percentage higher than you would have gotten before. Gone are the days of 0%, unless the only case for 0%, which is very, very, very rare, is if a manufacturer has a special program for that, but usually only for well-qualified buyers and usually for shorter terms. And, there's a whole list of variables you have to qualify for. So most manufacturers are not going to do that. Some have special programs, 4.99%, 5 point whatever. The interest rates are usually right where the government interest rates are, and they're pretty good if you're able to qualify for that. But other than the manufacturers and the select number of credit unions, which are amazing, usually the military ones, DCU, Penn Fed, USAA, Navy Fed, one of those you can sign up for, two as a citizen, but one of those as a citizen with military family members. The other one, you have to have a close relative who's a military family member, or be a Department of Defense contractor or worker or whatnot. So one of those you could sign up with and get like 5%, and as long as you have excellent credit for a relatively newer used vehicle, which is pretty crazy. But hopefully this is the final interest rate hike this year. However, it's not guaranteed. And what this means is less people are buying, which means the economy's slowing down in certain segments. Other segments are exploding. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market, which goes into stocks. It goes into cryptocurrency. And it certainly affects buyers for large items. Right now in car sales, it's been pretty slow. And it's not just us, but it's a bunch of dealerships around. Bunch of manufacturers, and it's not just us, but it's the housing market too. Talking with realtors and real estate agents and brokers, and it's a little rough, especially if you don't have a client list. For many industries right now, it is a period of instability. It's okay. Cryptocurrency is certainly one of those that has been impacted by this. Some cryptos have been doing fairly well, but compared to where they were 2 or 3 years ago, still not great. So, with interest rates rising, what is the government's plan? I'm always freaked out whenever it gets down to red. It's been red since I left the dealership, and whoops, just don't have gas money. I went to the gas station and put $4 in, which is not even a full gallon. Gas prices are going up again. Like, really? This year is rough, man. Like, everything is, wow. I'm a little jelly of people who have their lives together and are more prepared for stuff like this, because if you're not prepared, like me, because you're still dealing with a lot of your old debts and whatever, it's a fun ride. But anyways, I digress. So Jerome Powell cannot guarantee that there's not going to be any more interest rate hikes in the future. They're meeting in June again, so that's when we'll find out, probably mid-June. But right now it seems like their policy of constantly increasing to fight inflation has simmered a little bit. So there's been 10 interest rate hikes, with right now projections showing that the Fed believes interest rates should be anywhere from 5 to 0.5 to 0.5%. They raised them by another 0.25% in the latest rate hike on Wednesday. So that should be fine up until June. And their main concern right now is still inflation, saying it's not over yet, but there is potential that this could have been the last interest rate hike. Hopefully. But maybe it's going to be the second to last. We don't know. Maybe it'll go up another 0.25, maybe another 0.5%. They're not as aggressive anymore. There were higher interest rate hikes, but the last time we had this level, it was back in 2007, right before 2008 Great Recession. And the last time that there was such a rapid succession of interest rate hikes in a year or two in this time span was in the 80s, when you had huge interest rate hikes going, again, double digits, and that was just insane. So right now, interest is something that you can control. You can always refinance as long as you're able to, because some loans or whatnot, it's fixed. But you could still refinance, but it's different. It's different when you have a variable rate compared to a fixed rate, for example, for a home. But right now, refinancing is tricky because interest rates are very high, and there's still a lot of uncertainty. If the Fed doesn't even know that they're going to stop right now, a lot of banks are going to be always higher. Everyone's going to be higher than the government. So if the main interest from the Fed is supposed to be between 5 to 5.25, you're going to see for excellent credit probably 6 and above. And some banks are going to be right at the 5% as a promotion to try and get as much clients as they can, because they understand the difference between 5 and 5.5 or 5.49, 5.99, 6%. It's not a huge difference unless you're talking about multi-million-dollar homes or whatnot. But with that, these are multi-billion-dollar corporations that are trying to just find an edge against the other multi-billion-dollar corporation, the other bank or credit union that's trying to earn your business. But right now, as someone selling vehicles, it's very difficult because you're talking to people where, on average, you're not going to have excellent credit. Yes, there's people I talked with that are a couple points away from perfect. I think the highest credit score I've ever seen was 891 or 892. Today I closed a deal with 750, 751, 749, something like that. And that was, they said, after it lowered. So there's people with good credit. I've closed a lot of 800s, but I've also had 400s. I've had people even below 400, a lot of 500s. Yeah. So that's tricky. That's when the cosigners starts coming in and whatnot. Although there have been 500s approved without a cosigner with a decent down payment. Some of them got miracle approvals, I'll tell you that. But it's just a tricky economy. And right now, I'm not judging. I'm in the 500s again as well. So I know exactly how difficult it is. I got a car. I got 2 cars in the 500s. Right now, it is all about the interest rates. That's the problem with the next year. A lot of people don't know what's going on. So, for example, for car sales, it's better to not worry about the interest rate so much. You can always refinance. You can pay it off early. As long as there's no penalty for prepayment, which with car sales, you're not going to find that unless it's a buy here, which that's different if you're doing weekly payments. But with many of these cases, it's the pricing that's something you can play around with, negotiate because of the interest rates. So a lot of house prices are falling, car prices are falling, and that's something you can negotiate and try and hold power over that, because the final number, you're not going to be able to change that in the future. Once you buy a car for $20,000, that's it. You bought it for $20,000, and the depreciation, that's where it's going to kill you. The interest rate, it doesn't matter whether you got it for 2025. If your credit score rises, if this pauses over the next year, you're going to be able to refinance maybe for 10, maybe for 15. Who knows? Maybe you're going to get a cosigner. It doesn't matter. Maybe you're going to pay it off early, and who cares? Wow, you paid $700 in total interest. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all of us are impacted, though, by this, the rising prices for smaller goods, not talking about, these consumer major goods that are impacted by interest rates and other things as well. Manufacturing processes and whatnot. It's a weird time. It's definitely a weird time for a lot of industries, and I'm honestly just hoping for better days to come. I want inflation to go away. I know it's never going to go away fully, but at least get to a better point. So But in the meantime, gotta make as much money as I can and try and pay off my debts and invest into crypto later on and invest, and prepare for other rainy days, because even if we get out of this bad time right now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be another crisis just a couple years later. Who knows? It's tough. But with that, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day and take care.